Good morning, everybody. Little pickup in inflation. Uh-oh. And little downward gap here. And institutions are going to start getting a little more nervous. You know, that magic line in the sand, the 50 MA, was holding there for a couple of days. Now it's gapping below it and into, keep looking at the cues here, major support, this pivot low. Right? So this was the pivot low prior to the higher high. And the good thing, I guess there's a good thing, when we look at support and resistance, and we see that there's a pivot low, it should stop there. Right? Doesn't mean it will ultimately stop there, but the next pivot low is relatively close. And there's a 360 whole number. Today, there is the highest open interest in put options at 365, which it'll come down to. And then the question is in this area, does it bounce off of that to come back up? So, watch this area here. As it comes down and the gap down continues down there, that maybe it bottoms out to try and turn around. And we'll see. But this 365, this pivot low, just this area here is where buyers, if they're going to show up, if they don't, of course, that's not going to be a good sign since it's already down. But realize that this did have at least 2 days. I mean, it did dip down on the bottoming tail bar day. And then he had the gap down. And then yesterday that failed after taking out the high, but it held the low pretty much. And so now you got a few days of buyers trying to make it a turn, and now it's failing. And it's failing on news that the markets don't want to hear because, it's one number. But if it continues, of course, then it starts to raise the fears. Oh, the Fed is going to raise interest rates again, where they thought maybe they were done for the year. We'll just see how it plays out. But it was a number that was higher than anticipated, and now the markets are gapping down. Now, yesterday, pre-market, I said, watch these interest rates. I said they're in the buy area, and they ripped higher. And of course, then the market just, took it down, went down after being higher like that. This was the culprit that dragged everything down. You can see how it was kind of flattish, and then all of a sudden, boom, consolidated. And look at this pattern. We always like to point out great patterns. Had a kind of momentum, sharp move up, and then it makes this rounding kind of bottom. That's a great long setup, especially then you got the wide range bar and accelerated higher. So it doesn't matter whether it's interest rates or whatever stock. All this is one of those patterns that print it out, put in a folder, study it day to day. When you see it, it's a great long setup. Of course, you need the void, which it did have, and it accelerated very nicely. And just take a peek, the 30-year. It was interesting how that actually led the way up with interest rates, and it pulled back into this area, and that went up. And in addition, the 5-year turned around. So, and then they're continuing to move up on this news. So none of this is good for equities. And just take a look at this. Is it moving up at all? Nah, it's just flat doing nothing. So it supports, we see it's going down, and it does support the possibility that it's going to continue to go down in the coming week or two. So we'll just see how it unfolds. Let's look at SPY and the futures, because I know this chart's getting a little messy. I have these areas marked off here, but it's coming off of this little area down here, lifting up a little bit. You can see the cursor. It's right on this minor support area, this pivot. This unfilled gap is an obvious target. And I've got the little purple line there and marked off the 50 MA with this little purple box there. So this is the area. If prices, the S&P gets down there today, that's a significant area where buyers should want to show up and defend the 50 MA, because institutions don't want to see this close below. You know, if it's going to happen, ultimately it's going to do it. Nothing they can do about it. But the first time getting down there and, coming down to an unfilled gap and a 50 MA, those things lined up together, it should provide a significant reference point of support. 442. Let's see here. Well, the biggest open interest is down below at 437. 447, which is already below. These are expiring today. 440 is pretty big, but I don't think it'll go down to 440. 44, that 440 number is a big number in SPX too, with open interest. But I think this is the focal area where, if the selling is going to continue and the way it came down here on the 5, I would think it's going to, because that's where any buyer that wants to, step up here, that's going to be a high probability point where it'll bounce from. And the congestion that we've had over the last few days, as you can see on the 60-minute chart, it's holding. Like maybe it can go up, and then it popped up there and it failed, and now it's breaking the lows. Of course, that's bearish. So all those buyers can turn into sellers, and where buyers are going to show up again. Well, today, as I said, this is most obvious reference point down here where they would want to do that. We'll set an alert, see what happens. Futures, pretty bearish. Topping tail bar that takes out the lows and comes right back down again. And now you can see it's just sitting right on that 50 MA. As it bounced off of a little bit. I think it's going to, at this point, take a miracle, to get this thing back above its opening price. And so that's what you want to see. Is there any sign of a turnaround? And to do that, it would at least have to get back to its opening price. We'll see. It's already there, and it's got room to keep falling. Now here, I don't believe it would get there today. But down to 440, 440. It starts picking up some steam. You can see all the congestion. I think that's in the realm of possibilities. SPX, let's see if I can check these numbers. This is what I had for 43.95, and as Jake pointed out there, call spread at 4,500. Should be a no-brainer. It's already moving down. It's a big whole number, but down here, if it moves down, it's below 4,400. So, and there's this pivot low. So you got these lines of defense. It would have to get through the unfilled gap. It's got to get through the 50 MA. It's got to keep dropping down into the 4,400 area, and the pivot low is there. That should be like, a steel wall to try and move below. Let's see here. Yeah, 4,400 is 90 by $1. So as things get weaker, 43.95 is 70 by 75. So, and that's a super major support area. if and just imagine how far prices would have to fall from yesterday's close to get all the way down there. It would be a monster sized bar, which could happen, but would it continue to go down at that point? I think not. No, again, I think ultimately, initially, the 50 MA would be where prices would hit, and you can see the 44.32. So keep an eye on that, regardless whether you're trading SPX zero DTEs or anything, because if it comes down to that 50 MA, buyers should show up there. Maybe it's going to try and bounce. And if you get an NYSE tick extreme, it gets down there, combination of information coming together, be a good point in time. And especially if it was like 10 o'clock or 10:30 reversal period, that would be reversal times, support, different focal points where the markets would bounce for various reasons. All right. We looked at the NQ futures, but major support down here. We measured this off earlier in the week. It would be almost 6% to tag that major support point, this pivot. And it's definitely within striking distance, and 15,000, a whole number. So I would imagine it could go through the pivot low, tag the whole number, and we'll see what happens if it actually hits that. But, on giving some fuel to the bearish side is, look, this consolidation made the turn, it failed. This one where the closes are the same, the topping tail, and it comes back in, a momentary stopping point there, almost, and probably lower, I think, down to the next one. What is SPY at 44.44 level? You've been mentioning it as major support. Well, if I did, it's because 44.44 minor support. Not major. Major support is the pivot low prior to the higher high. Now it might be, yeah, that's your minor support level. And then you've got the 50 MA and unfilled gap. And then, so when we say what is major support, that is within an uptrend, which is defined by higher highs and higher lows, that is the level that it has to break down below to change this from an uptrend to not be in an uptrend. It's not a downtrend. However, one of my, like when I do the trend matrix for the ETF letter, and you see, don't think I use these fibs or anything else other than that. It's just to give me a very clear line in the sand. So what I do is these lines here, which are like 70, 80% retracement, if it comes down into those lines, even though it hasn't violated this, I move the trend to sideways because of the depth of retracement. Now, once it breaks there, it's no longer an uptrend. It's black and white. But common sense says if something is in an uptrend and it's going through minor support, anything that retraces about 80% of a move from a pivot low to a pivot high is weak. Now, it doesn't change the trend. I mean, this is where things get set up, and fib levels, just like a moving average, are subjective. Does it line up with any real price support? And over here, you can see the 50 and this level here. Fib people don't look at, 80, 70%, which I believe this is what I have this set to. They look at their magic numbers, which would be a bit higher. So anyway, that's what that's all about. All right, transports are coming in. The ETF broke that major support, and the next one is here. But clearly, we've got weakness. Dollar is up near the top of the trading range. We'll see what it does. Probably not going through it today. Silver, we've been looking at, it's down near near this, its major support, deep retracement. It's stabilizing. Gold been showing some relative strength, but just within this trading range, it's of no interest unless it breaks above or below. We'll see. Oil has been the star. It's holding up well at resistance. Clearly, the momentum has stalled. Small candle body, and we'll see where that goes next week. You can see it was coming down a little bit. Bitcoin was consolidating a bit after this pop up, and so I didn't think this would retrace this far. I mean, that pivot high is there, but when you see a wide range bar like that, ideally, it, as we always say, it stays in the upper half. You know, it's coming in a little bit more, but we'll see if this can get going. Breakdown failure in what, Ed? This, yeah, this is like a breakdown failure, or we call it a downside shakeout. And you can see pivot low, pivot low, pivot low. It's got this rounding bottom, and then the spike up. So this is, still could push up here, and definitely set an alert at that 30,000, or any of those stocks that look similar to this, and they should be good to go if this starts moving up again. I think that's about it. Things are moving lower, and unless some kind of miracle turnaround, you can see they're already flipping back down again here as it come up to this little overlapping opens and closes and pushing it back down. So sellers are relatively aggressive, and buyers, odds are they won't get aggressive until prices come down here, I think. All yours, Dan.
Thanks. Good morning. Yep, we said yesterday into the close under today's low, bearish bias. Well, I had bearish bias anyway, but that would be the continuation. We're long puts and spiders, and we were talking about that being an ad. So many continuation patterns lower. I just typed into Telegram, Tesla under the low, Oracle. That's kind of what I call a minor 1, 2, 3. But you got the topping tail rejection. It's under the 50 closing breakdown void. That looks great. Look at a couple more spiders or long puts. Gapping under the low. I'll probably move up 30-minute low. I'm sorry, 30-minute high. Couple earnings here, IONQ. I'm going to watch a 30-minute high. This is a sloppy buy setup because we want controlled lower lows, lower highs, and Wednesday's bar was a failed buy setup. But it's a watch, 30-minute high, I'll watch it. Penny stock here, similar. It's a deep buy setup at the 50. Gapping up to 180, deep gap. It's a $2 stock. It's over the counter because that's where they show 4 decimal places. So it's junk. Anything on over the counter is considered junk because they got booted off the NASDAQ. But 30-minute high. Here's another one. And whenever these are all earnings trades right here, I'm looking at. And I always make the comment as we go through these in the green room of what if it gaps here? And I said the exact same thing on this one yesterday. I said, what if it gaps over 255? Well, guess what? Gapping to 265. So 30-minute high, that has room to go. Maybe to 350. That'd be a huge gain on a $2 stock. So that's on my list. Archer. This was earnings. I would have given this yesterday and Wednesday. I had some beautiful buy setup, but it had earnings after the bell yesterday. Now gapping up here, so nothing to do. Chibo, Cheapy, deleting you, wow, this is a marijuana stock. That looks like if it doesn't get bought out, that's going to the graveyard. Getting cut in half almost. Gap breakdown. That is nasty. I don't know if it's an MJ or not. But MJ also just going sideways here. Tail rates had a good week. Indy looks lower, nothing to do. All right, ACB is another marijuana, and that's the same that I said yesterday. I said, what if it gaps over yesterday's bar? This one might be a survivor. So let's watch 30-minute high on that. I'll put that in a window. WPM, I said the same thing on this yesterday. I said, what if it gaps over this 15-minute pivot? 44.45. And you can see I have 3 dots here. So pre-market, it's all over the place. But I got an alarm here. Look at all these converging moving averages. Then there'd be red bar ignored. Nothing to do unless my alarm goes off. Maxin, I have this bottom right. This is a solar stock getting killed. So look at this. It's gapping down here to, wow. That's actually a head and shoulders here with a 180 reversal on the weekly. Wow. Look at that, kind of cracking the neckline right here. So I have this on my list as a 0 DTE put spread. If it can do that. Yep, flows on my list too. Yep. And I said the same thing yesterday. It's not, Patrick, unless it's very liquid, I don't trust it. But I see one print up there, but yeah, I'm watching that too. ASTL, one of these extended buy setups. You can watch 30-minute high if you want, but I think we can find better. This was one. I said if it opened flat, short the heck out of yesterday's low. That's a bear 1, 2, 3, but now you see gapping down 50 cents, which is 5%. So it's a big gap. SPB, no. Well, it's opening flat. This could be a short. Gap breakdown. Look at this topping tail. 2 tails at resistance. That ain't bad. I got ILNQ on the other computer. Let me put SPB there. That's a short watch for sure. Look, it said I only see one print, but it's opening right at yesterday's low. That could be a 5-10 minute low setup. I like that. And these are just Expedia, short idea, bounced a lot under prior day's low. This is a bottoming pattern, closing breakout. I actually was going to post this, but it has earnings on the 15th, I think I looked up. But day trade, 30-minute high, this is what we call an end of day rally. So that's not as ideal for getting on board a day trade long. We much prefer an end of day base going sideways, which provides a platform of support. Calm bottoming pattern, keep an eye on it. All right, we know about that. SSTK, I think had earnings also. It's in a downtrend, daily, weekly, monthly. VIAV, could be a short, yesterday's low. USB is on our 1, 2, 3, 4 long watch list. Ring, we have short puts in this, but if it can take out yesterday's high, I was looking to sell more puts. I have an alarm at 31.25. Nikola, nah, it's too sloppy. One of those EV stocks. C-Web, the Chinese internet stocks. Gapping down here. CLSK. I posted this as a core long, half lot around yesterday's close, gapping up a little bit here. This was an earnings yesterday, and this was another one I mentioned yesterday. Well, I mentioned Wednesday before earnings. I said, what if it takes out that red bar side? What would the pattern look like? And voila, it's a buy setup at the 50, red bar ignored. Now that's a monster bar. Ideally, we get a 1, 2, 3. Well, I don't call it, Roger, unless it happens, right? That's why we set alarms. That's why I preface it with would if. Very well could have opened at 450. Who the heck knows? Nobody knows. But yeah, I look at the weekly. That's a beautiful buy setup, like textbook. Wide range igniting, fluid bars down. Look at the monthly. So it's holding relative strength, but you know, we're going to need a pullback. And I just had spider alarm go off. These are our long. I had an alarm at 444. We're long puts. And PSFE, I just mentioned Oracle gapping under these lows. This is a short idea. Long puts, call spread, day trade, swing trade, looks lower. Tesla, you know, had a deeper bar. It took out Wednesday's high, but now look where it's opening. So for a day trade, you would short 5-minute low, stop over this 15-minute shelf, like, you know, 246.50. Swing trade, you got to go over this tail, 252, but that has a long way to fall. That's what we call a price void. Look, momentum move. There's insignificant support. I mean, it stopped here at this one, but look, it was a breakdown from all these football players. So that, I mean, if the market gets ugly, what's to prevent this from coming to 220? Nothing. I mean, I don't think he'll do it in a straight line, but that's a nice setup. Wix, I just saw gapping up. This used to be on my core watch list right here at this green bar, and then it kind of had a deep retracement, but I'm going to put it back on my watch list. You know, even if it takes a couple of weeks to set up. Looks good. Upstart, this thing got, this was earnings on Wednesday, got killed. And look, this is just steady liquidation on the 15-minute chart. I really hope it just keeps waterfalling. And then that's going to set up a beautiful short put spread for next week once we get a reversal. All right, look at this SP. I had SPB as a short watch, but see, so delete it now. See, it's no longer short, so just move on. All right, let's see, AMBA, we're short. Calm alarm. Let's put calm here in his place. AMBA, we've been short for a while. I don't know if we've covered any. If we haven't, let's I gave next target 71.75. So that might get hit here very shortly. Flow had a big old gap up. IONQ, I said I liked, remember? All right, I need to watch this AMBA. All right, boom, it just hit its 71.75 target, so perfect. Now let's move stop over, 73.52 for now. Crocs low alarm, we are short that. See, I gotta, I have this saying that our inventory is our inventory. So even though there's good new trades out there, I always focus on my inventory first, because that's what we're in the business of doing, is managing our inventory. But I gave you all my hit list for the morning. I just can't pay attention now, but I see IONQ moving. So take a look at that. Crocs low alarm, I gotta check out. Hey, WPM alarm, remember, talked about it pre-market. Look at that. Nothing to do with it right now, but put it on your watch list. NVIDIA, yep, totally void, absolutely. Absolutely, Roger. Another many topping patterns with similar continuation patterns, sure. All right, Crocs. I'll just set a new alarm at 1:30:60. Two. All right, so IONQ, remember? I said let's watch 30-minute high. Did I say buy it or watch it? I forget. Yeah, I said 30-minute high, buy it. Nah, I don't want it to trigger automatically. So I'm gonna cancel it. Just with a weak market, it's not a unique enough pattern for me to say buy 30-minute high right now. SMTC we're short. There's another continuation. Let's move stop 2642.